Welcome to Comic Drive with Hauss and Jake. Comic Drive is a show that we haven't done in a while where I just drive Jake home from work and then I say like a question and we talk about it because we talk about stuff anyway. We were just talking about video games and I thought, hey, let's do a Comic Drive. So you were talking about Contra. And you were calling it a shooter incorrectly. Because I was saying it's kind of a platformer, but it's a run and gun.
I don't even know if it's a true platformer though.
It's not a platformer like Mega Man. Well,
Mega
not
Man,
Mickey Mouse.
Castlevania.
Like Mario's a platformer. It's jumping from platform to platform. Mega Man is a platformer with shooting elements. But Contra, to me, is a run and gun. But a shooter, I shouldn't adjust while talking. I think a shooter is something like Gradius or 1941. That's aging myself by not being able to think of a better shooter than that. So anyway, speaking of which, what was your first console? Like, what era of video games were you born into?
My first console that I played?
Were you an NES kid? Or
I was NES and then shortly after SNES.
SNES?
And then SNES and Genesis.
Okay. So yeah, so let's talk about that.
Some old school games.
How old are you? How much younger are you than I?
32.
Okay. Because yeah, I'm 40. So like we had the Super Nintendo. I guess. But like, at what point did you get a PlayStation? Was that high school? That would you'd had a PlayStation in elementary school?
I never had a PlayStation.
Okay.
I played on them, but
yeah,
my first, I guess, new gen console would have been the first Xbox.
Okay. So to say, like when I was a child, we had the NES. We got an NES when we were 6. I think I got a Super Nintendo for Christmas when I was like 12.
Oh, GameCube. Sorry.
Okay.
GameCube was
GameCube.
Yeah, Xbox.
Okay. See, then when I was in high school, I bought myself a PlayStation, and after high school, I got the PS2. But like people had the N64 and the PlayStation while I was in high school, so you're a little off. Anyway, let's talk about Nintendo. Did you guys own games?
Yeah.
What games did you own?
For the Nintendo,
yeah.
The SNES, I had all the Donkey Kongs.
For the Super Nintendo.
Super Mario.
Yeah.
And Mario Paint. Loved that game. That was such a cool game.
I like squishing bugs.
The bugs was probably one of the best parts.
Yeah.
Or making the music.
Have you seen on the YouTube, I should show it to you if we weren't driving and filming something, Mike Matei from Cinemassacre?
Yeah.
He did frame by frame and recreated the entire Ninja Turtles 90s opening theme.
On Mario Paint?
On Mario Paint. Like he painted frame by frame and he saved them, I guess, and then edited them together and did the intro. It's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So did you like complete all that? Like, because you're of that age, like.
Completed Super Mario World.
Yeah.
All the Donkey Kongs.
Here's a fun.
What other games did I have?
I never played Mario World till recently. There's a short on my gaming channel of how bad I was. I went Mario 2, Mario 3. I didn't play another mainline Mario game till Galaxy. Yeah. So there's
Galaxy is pretty good, but
even
Super Mario World has a place in my heart.
I get that. I'm having a hard time getting into it. I'm going to sit down and give it an honest try one time, but like I just have a hard time getting into it because it's just not in the nostalgia for me. But I will play Link to the Past and Super Metroid till the cows come home. So I had, for my Super Nintendo, we had one game at a time. I did, because like that was of that age where it's on me. It's not like my parents buying me stuff. So I can't remember what game I had with. I think it came with no game. That's why I didn't have Mario World. And I rented something called Utopia like when I got it. An Illusion of Gaia. I had Illusion of Gaia. I got Illusion of Gaia with it, and I loved that game. Played it. My brother bought me Mortal Kombat. And I had those two games. I believe I traded them in for A Link to the Past. And I played the shit out of A Link to the Past.
Such a good game.
Yeah, and I traded that in. I think I might have traded that in for Super Metroid. And I had Super Metroid, and it had no save file. So I played the shit out of it. And I remember one time I just had to stay up all night and do Super Metroid in one sitting. And I traded that in. I'm trying to think. I don't recall owning a bunch of Super Nintendo games. Oh, I'll tell you a heartbreaking story in a minute too. But I bought this game called Obidus, and it is fucking terrible. That's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. Like you own that game, you're stuck with it. Like at that point, rentals were more prominent in town. I live in a small town, so I did a lot of rentals. But I had Obidus, and Obidus was like this first-person map thing, and it might be something I could revisit nowadays, honestly, and have a better feel for it. But it was like move up one screen at a time and try to turn left, right, and then eventually you could find castles, and then it becomes a side-scrolling game. But you're like, you have to eat bread constantly because your energy just depletes. Like it was ass, and I tried and tried and tried, and I couldn't do it, and I traded it in eventually. But yeah, one day, so Final Fantasy 3. Sorry to not let you talk to you. An interjection. Final Fantasy 3 was my game. I was at a buddy's house, Michael. Doesn't matter his name, I guess. I was at his house, and he rented Final Fantasy 3, and we were playing it in the 2-player mode that it had, which was like once in a while during a battle, I'll get to control 2 guys for what they do. It's stupid. You can hand the controller back and forth and achieve the same thing, but they tried. Anyway, Final Fantasy 3, I played it with him through the starting and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, like this is it. This is it for me. This is the game. So, and I waited till he was done with it, because he was renting it from Video Stop, and I went and I rented it. And I was like, every weekend I was in there renting it till I finished and completed the game. And it was like, holy crap. And that was my first JRPG. It just opened the world to me, and I was like, oh. And then from there I went and I rented like Breath of Fire when I played all through that. And then I found there was a different place in town that rented video games, and they had Final Fantasy 2, which is 4. And 3 is 6. Just because. Anyway, and I played Final Fantasy 4, and I played that. I rented it from the other place for like a few weeks. I beat it a lot quicker. And then I played like just every JRPG I could get my hands on. I was playing all these, and then I went back and I played Final Fantasy 3 again. And I just played it, and I rented it like every week. I played it right through. Like, so I probably, it's $4.25 to rent a video game for the weekend, and I probably spent $100 or more easily. Because like I didn't just play, like I completed the game. I wasn't.
They were good games.
Oh, and one time on that second time, it got my save file got deleted, and I was like, no. So anyway, I completed it again, and a third time, months later, I went. I think I even had a PlayStation by this point. I went to rent the game again, and Earl Hayhurst, Video Stop, watch us. Look him up. He's got a TikTok. He's one of the last video stations that rents still operating in Canada. He's actually like really great guy. Look him up on TikTok. Video Stop, watch us. I don't know why. Anyway, he was just like, okay, give me $5. And I was like, yeah, all right. And he just gave me the game. He's like, here, you've bought this 2 times over. Like we're moving it. We're moving into PlayStation. Like
new text message.
So he gave me that. And then the heartbreaker comes because I played it and played it and played it. My buddy Bryce. I guess I don't need to say these names. I'm going to beat him anyway. My buddy Bryce. I was telling him about how great it was, and he's like, "Oh, I own Mystic Quest." So I did a straight up trade, a Final Fantasy 3 on Super Nintendo for Mystic Quest.
Mystic Quest.
Yeah. And Final Fantasy,
a bad trade.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 3 is one of those things that, like, if I had it now, I would have it on the shelf in a shadow box. Like, I'm thinking about tracking down a copy, but I also had Captain America and the Avengers. And I think I might have bought Maximum Carnage. I think I bought a bunch of them at the time when Earl was closing down and moving out of Super Nintendo. Anyway, at some point, I don't know. I don't ever remember getting rid of my Super Nintendo or my games. They're just gone. Anyway, go ahead.
What about Rampage?
What about Rampage?
Did you play that one?
On the Super Nintendo or the NES?
I think it was the Super Nintendo.
Not that I recall. On the Super Nintendo. It was a regular rental on the NES because it was always fun. Even though it was pointless. I've played it in recent years, and it's like, oh, this is garbage.
It was great back in the day.
It was fun to be a little kid and be like, I'm a lizard now. Oh, you're the girl in the bathtub. It's fucking great. I love it. Oh, I swore.
They were good games.
Yeah.
So played a lot of Genesis too, a lot of Sonic.
Yeah, we had a Genesis. Well, it was yeah, so we had the NES. I guess we got a Sega Genesis at some point before I had the Super Nintendo, and that was mine and my brother's. And we had actually a Sega CD too, which is a fucking Sewer Shark. I still have yet to find a really good emulator for Sewer Shark, and it's like I just want to play Sewer Shark 3, 6, 9, or you ever play Sewer Shark?
I don't think so.
It's just a game, and you're just flying down the sewer, and you like have a little thing, and you're shooting rats and stuff, clearing out the sewer. But then like there's certain routes you got to take, and if he says 3, 6, 9er, it means like the next time you come to a fork on the road, you got to take a 3, which is like 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So you got to turn right. 6 is go down, and 9 would be go left, and there's 12s as well, I believe. So he'll give you 3 at a time. This little robot, and he's like flying ahead, and he's like 3, 3, 6, and just stuff like that. And you got to like follow the right path. If you don't, you'll crash into it. That's fun.
Well, I didn't get to play a lot of different games for the SNES or the Genesis.
No.
I just kind of had what I had.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. I don't know what we had. I remember we got Sonic 3, like the day it came out, and I remember just playing the piss out of Sonic 3. Other than that, like there's a lot of rentals.
Sonic and Knuckles.
Rented Sonic and Knuckles. But like, we didn't have Sonic 1, didn't have Sonic 2. I played them both. As I know we owned Sonic 3. I'm trying to think. There must have been other games we owned. I just can't think of them.
There's like a real-time strategy game that I played for the Genesis a lot, but was a German version, and I don't know what it's called in English, but for some reason, the name, I just remember, it's Herzog 2.
Herzog 2.
But I don't know what the English version of that is.
I have no idea.
It was like you could be this robot dude who could turn into a plane, but then you make little soldier dudes and tanks, and you gotta go blow up the enemy's base. I spent way too much time on that game.
Would that have been like Front Mission 1? Was it like mechs and stuff?
Yeah, like little robot guys.
Herzog 2.
But it was all
why did you have
top-down.
a German version?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. Just had it, and I don't know what the English is for that, the English translation.
There was a game I rented once, and it took me years to find out what it was, and it was like this little game, and it was like one screen at a time, and you had 3 little characters, and you had to run and kill the other guys, but then you could rescue, and there were like 20 characters, and you could rescue them from screen to screen. Or there was a hard version where you could play, where you started with all 20, and each one, like some threw spears, some did different things, and you could start with all 20, but they only got 1 life each, and you had to make it through all these things like storming castles and stuff like that. And I finally found it was called Gain Ground. It was actually on like, I bought one of those Xbox Sonic's Ultimate 30 Sega Genesis compilation things. It was on there called Gain Ground. And I was like, this is great, and it wasn't as good as I remembered it. But
well, some of those old games that you used to love are hard to get back into.
Yeah. Oh, so that's actually where this whole tirade started. Was like, yeah, like I don't have the nostalgia for Mario World, so I have a hard time going back to it. But like Final Fantasy VI, I can revisit any day. Especially the Pixel Remaster is so good. The music alone makes that game worth it. But like those games I have the nostalgia for, I can revisit any day. And Final Fantasy VII, I played when it came out, and I loved it when it came out, and I never really did much to it. And I went back to play it again. It's probably 5 years ago now. I downloaded it before the remake or whatever, and the graphics on that were just so hard to get back into.
Yeah, it was some rough
even
graphics.
Like I never played Mario 64, and I have it now. I have like the Mario All Stars 3D thing. I think I would have a hard time going back to Mario 64 just because the graphics are so rough. Yeah, like those pixel graphics, like they are what they are. Like Mega Man X is beautiful to me.
It still holds up.
Yeah, it's just something about the simplicity. Whereas though you go to 3D graphics, like the simplicity of a 3D graphics, like I can never imagine adult Hauss masturbating to PS1 Lara Croft like I had. You know,
like those razor sharp nips.
Yeah, but like back then, that was like yes.
Back when your hand was still stuck like this.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Those good old graphics.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about in the games. My hand.
Your hand was always
my hand was stuck like
that.
this. Yeah.
But every character, like Perfect Dark, 007.
Oh,
all those ones where they tried to make real people and their hands were just...
It was just like a picture of a face. Yeah. Back to the NES. What did you have for NES? Like
NES?
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
Oh, I know.
Super Mario.
Yeah. Oh, I got an interesting story about Mario 2. We didn't own any of them. I think we might have owned Mario 3 at some point. I know we rented Mario 2. And I played Mario 1 plenty, right? Everybody has.
Had Duck Hunt, obviously.
I did not. I do now. I have Mario Duck. I left in the office. I should have brought it back. We played Duck Hunt. So I remember we got it for Christmas one day. We came home from Grandma and Grandpa's, and there was like arrows. There were big neon arrows pointing under the tree, and the NES was there under the tree, and it was like, oh. And we went out that night and got to the Golden West videos just before they closed, and we rented Q*bert and Ghostbusters because we didn't have any games with
Q*bert.
it. Yeah.
The Ghostbusters where you like drive through a city and go to a building.
Which I thought was great. That was the only time I heard Ghostbusters! And I thought that was the best damn game ever. Until I recently played it again, and I was like, oh,
this is rough.
It's just the nostalgia, right? But over time, we built up a collection of games, and I remember like just some of them being these weird disappointments. So we had hockey players stay with us, like billets, and one of the teams in the league was in the United States, and games were just so much cheaper in the United States. So my brother and I like saved up $15, and like, oh, when you go play in the States, can you bring us back a game? And we were like, didn't think to make any request of any game for whatever reason.
Just a game.
Yeah, and I remember my brother really wanted Baseball Stars, which was actually an amazing baseball game for the NES, but I haven't revisited it, so maybe not. But he really wanted Baseball Stars, but we didn't ask for it, and the guy came back with Metal Gear. And at the time, like a 6 and an 8-year-old were like, what?
What is this?
What is this? But it was one of the only games we owned, so of course you had to play it. We played the hell out of it, figured it out. It's one of my all-time favorite games now. I go back to that, and I do have, just the song in my head, like the nostalgia for that is there. And another time, we entered a video game competition. Like the video store back home was different back home before I moved to the other town. But they had like a video game competition. It was like $10 to enter or something. And same thing. Like we're talking, first prize was a game. So me and my brother, again, baseball stars. Oh, we're going to get baseball stars. And I was like, I don't like baseball, but okay, you're my brother. You know, we're going to get baseball stars. Yeah. So we go. And the first thing was like Mario. And I went out in the first round. It was about who could get more points. And I lost in the first round. I was like, okay, whatever. My brother went. I can't remember what the other games were. He went on. And then the final was two people, my brother and this other kid, playing Blades of Steel. And Blades of Steel was a game we owned. Great game. Revisited it. Ass. It's got that nostalgia feel, but it's like, as far as a hockey game, it's a hockey game. It's not ice hockey. It's Blades of Steel. And my brother's playing. There's a game we own, so my brother's really good at it already. And this other guy's little brother was like, oh yeah, me and my brother played this. We knew it would be in the final, so we were practicing. But you know what I do? I just skate up to the net and I press pass, and then it goes into the net. That's how I scored on him. So my brother did that and just trounced this kid. And then we win. We're like, oh, we're going to win a game. We're going to get baseball stars. But they gave us Mickey Mouse Capade. So it was like, obviously, it's just a game that we don't want. But again, it's one of those games. You're going to play it. We played the hell out of Mickey Mouse Capade.
Back when they were just so available.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
It's
and you
harder to get them.
Go get a game, and you know, mom paid $30, $40, $50 or whatever for a game. You can't be like, no, I'm done with it. I didn't like it. But it's like, it's what there is.
You go to Blockbuster and just hope that the game you wanted was there.
Yeah. There's so many games I remember renting. Like, I feel like, I know when I was a teenager in the Super Nintendo, like going and renting, like that was physically me doing it. So I don't know how so many of these other game rentals came to be, but like, I do remember there was a time, once I was old enough to like go out and do stuff on my own, I do remember like I kind of would just have some money, and Friday I would go down to Nutter's, which is like a bulk store, like bulk barn, and I'd buy a bunch of candy, and I'd go to the video store and rent a game. And I remember like one time I rented one of those Dizzy's Adventures, and I remember just loving the shit out of it. It's bad. But like we rented Punch-Out. I remember vividly playing most of the Mega Man games, but we never owned one of them. California Games, Skate or Die. We owned Ninja Turtles, the first one. Ugh. And I still, to this day, can't get far enough in that game, even though it was one we played. Another one we had was this game called 8 Eyes. And you're this dude, and you get to go to like 8 different castles, and the second player can control his bird. I'd actually like to revisit that one. We own Tetris and Galaga, because my mom played a bunch of them.
Speaking of Ninja Turtles, you should play the new one.
Shredder's Revenge?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
Do you have it?
I do, yeah. Oh. It's a Xbox Game Pass, so you get it for free.
Oh, is it? I've heard such good things about that.
I played it thinking, I'm not going to get into this. Like, it's more in the old school.
Yeah.
Kind of
Those are the games.
It was so good.
Was it?
So good.
And you play Splinter, April, and Casey.
But you can't play them right off the bat. I unlocked them after beating the game with Leonardo.
Which is fine. There was a game, it was like a hack or whatever, a fan-made game called Ninja Turtles Rescue Palooza. Have you seen that one?
No.
It's like, I don't know how to get these games because I'm not computer savvy. I could probably figure it out. But it's Rescue Palooza, and it's like you start with the 4 Ninja Turtles, but then like at the end of every stage, you rescue 1 or 2 characters that are like good guys that'll join you, but you beat up 1 or 2 villains, and they'll join you as well. And just some of the obscure characters they went into. So like, you remember, did you watch the cartoon at all?
Yeah.
When you were a kid? So you remember like, I think Vern was the boss. Yeah, no, Bern was the boss. Vernon was like the cameraman. You can unlock him, and his attack is like this wimpy little kick. But there's like almost so many of them that were like made into action figures and stuff that you end up getting. I think it's a fan-made game, but it's called Rescue Palooza. It was really good.
We got Screw Loose.
Yeah, they're in there. When they started releasing like, all those beat-em-ups, I bought a bunch of them on my Xbox. Like I have Turtles in Time reshelled. I have the X-Men arcade game. I think it's just those 2.
Yeah, I had which X-Men was it? For the Genesis.
Oh, yeah.
That's so much.
Played the heck out of that one, too. Like Nightcrawler, and you hold down the special button, it's like...
Yeah.
Yeah. See which...
You can do your special attack and bring,
it's like Iceman, Storm, or Archangel.
Yeah.
And sometimes you fell down like a pitfall, Jean Grey would come save you.
Oh, such a good game.
See, whereas if I was to go back, which I will, because actually I plan on doing some comic book video game content, I'll play that one, but I would far prefer to play the Super Nintendo Mutant Apocalypse, I think it was called, X-Men game. Like, the graphics are just so much better, the gameplay seems more Tighter. Ooh. It's close. I wasn't that close. But like that was the game I played growing up, so that was the one I would have the more nostalgia for, right?
See, I can't remember all the games that I had. Like it's just been so long.
That's the thing. Like I know I'm missing a bunch, and like I don't remember getting rid of them. I just don't know where they went.
See, I got a bunch of them at my house, but then at my parents' places where the Genesis and the Super Nintendo are.
Yeah. My girlfriend says she has a Sega Genesis in her parents' basement and like Garfield. I'm like, really? And then she was sitting here, she was opening her laptop the other day and I saw she had Steam. And she's not very video gamey. I was like, why do you have Steam? She's like, I can't remember. For some reason. I played, I was like, do you even know what a video game is? She's like, I played Among Us. I was like, you were playing Among Us?
Like, didn't play with me.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know her at the time. I was just playing Discord and Steam. I was like, okay. And that's like, and I try as I might. These modern games are hard. They're hard for me. There's too much going on.
Depends on the game for me.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of games that are like, yeah, that's cool. The premise is cool, but I just don't see myself enjoying it.
Well, it's like, see, I can get into like, I really wanted to get the Avengers, but I just don't have the time for it. I got Jedi Fallen Order. I still haven't finished. Like I sat down and I played it for a while. And I'm like, this is just there's too much here for me. Whereas like if I pick up Mega Man and play Mega Man, I can just play it for 20, 30 minutes. Like, yeah, this is good. Or if I do play modern games, like I like Hollow Knight or Among Us, like just simple of the modern games.
You like the Metroidvania kind of.
I do love a nice Metroidvania. Like Symphony of the Night, behind Final Fantasy VI, Symphony of the Night is like my second favorite game that I've probably played every couple of years. Like Castlevania, Symphony of the Night.
Religiously played that one.
I bought it. Funny story. I bought it, and then we went to a movie. I bought it at Walmart, and we went to an arcade in the mall, and I put it on top of an arcade cabinet. Then we went to a movie, and then I was like, "Oh crap! I forgot my game." And I went back, and the arcade hadn't closed yet, and it was still there. I was like, "Sweet!" And that actually, I believe, was Final Fantasy Tactics, not Symphony of the Night.
Tactics.
Yeah. But Symphony of the Night, I think it was somewhere around Symphony of the Night. Like I said, I would trade in a video game and buy a new video game. Trade in. It was around there because I don't think I have Symphony of the Night, but I still have Tactics, where I stopped. So midway through PlayStation 1, I've never traded in a video game since. So every video game I've had since then, like I have all my PS1 games, well, most of my PS1 games, I have all my PS2 games, PS3, Xbox 360, GameCube.
There's some games from back then, like I did play like PlayStation for a bit. Like I didn't have one, but go to a buddy's place and play it.
Well, yeah, like
there's a couple games that I like remember the gameplay, but I could never tell you what that game actually was.
Oh.
So, like its name and it's hard to remember those games. I can't remember the names of them, so I'll never find them again unless I see particular screens.
That's
or
like
graphics
that Game Ground. Like I was trying to think of it, and I was googling like, little guys go from screen to screen. Like Lemmings? No. What was it? And then I just came upon it, and I was like, oh, it's Game Ground, and now I locked it in. But I said, yeah, there's those games at Buddy's house. Like I never had a Nintendo 64, but like I could probably pick up an N64 right now with WCW, NWO, Revenge, and not miss a beat. Is this the stoplight or is that the stoplight?
This is it.
I would not miss a beat. We used to go to my friend Corbin's house, and there was be four of us, or sometimes there was more of us, but we put on a 40-man rumble, knockout only. We all start as Bischoff, and it's just go. And we would spend like 4 hours. If there was 5 of us, you get knocked out, here you go. But if you're not, you just play the control, and we would just go and go and go. And that's what I think. It's like, you got, the high praise if you were the one that won, but you could have come in with a fresh character. Like nobody was eliminated. I'd like to set something like that with like 40 guys and each assign them something. And when that guy randomly comes in, you get him or assign them numbers, and you're stuck with who you get. So Corbin liked Dean Malenko, and we got really quick and good at changing people's outfits. And I remember we had a really awesome Scott Hall in like Sting's clothes. So it was like Scott Hall with his hair in like this long leather jacket and stuff, and he just looked badass. Anyway, Corbin liked Dean Malenko. He went to the bathroom really quickly. They went and changed everything on Dean Malenko. He's in pink tights. His name was Dean Malenko. And we're sitting here, and it just timed out perfectly. Corbin got eliminated. Then the next person to come out was Dean Malenko in his pink tights. Corbin's, it was hilarious.
That's why you can't leave.
Yeah, but yeah, that game. Oh,
I totally forgot about WCW and the N64.
Yeah. Oh no, because there was WCW World Tour or whatever, and then WCW NWO World or Revenge, and then that was it Aki or whatever the company took over, and they got WWF 2000, WrestleMania 2000 or whatever, which I actually never played, and I was a WWF guy growing up. But WCW NWO Revenge is like, my childhood is not the same without that game. Like, if I never played Symphony of the Night, if I never played Final Fantasy VI, my childhood would have been fine. But it would not be the same without WCW NWO Revenge. Like, so we had GoldenEye and stuff too, but it just wasn't the same. Oh, it's deathmatch, no Odd Job, no Jaws.
He did Odd Job.
Yeah.
Don't pick him.
But like, even to this day, like, I never played the campaign of GoldenEye, like, because I never had a reason to sit there and play the single player stuff, right? Never got into Smash Brothers. I think Smash Brothers might come out after high school for me, but no, WCW NWO Revenge.
Yeah, I didn't really get into Smash Bros until like the GameCube.
No, Melee.
Melee
I got into
stuff.
it with Brawl on the Wii just because I wanted to play the single player mode. So
Maybe my big one
blanket.
Be Perfect Dark.
Perfect Dark?
And Conker's.
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Yeah.
I had a buddy who
Played that with a buddy all the
had
time,
a crew
man.
that religiously played Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Such a good game. But Perfect Dark that's where it was at. That made me put down. Like, I'm not playing GoldenEye with you anymore, buddy. Like, no, let's play Perfect
really?
Dark.
So I was never a big first person shooter guy. I've done like my share of Call of Duties and Halos and whatnot, but I'm trying to think. It's funny because like I lock onto a series. Like, I love The Legend of Zelda. I think Legend of Zelda is great, but really, I only played A Link to the Past. I didn't play Link's Awakening. I played the original Legend of Zelda now, but like I didn't continue on with it. I didn't play Majora's Mask or anything. I didn't play it. I've played Link to the Past and the original Legend of Zelda.
See, the original was
I
hard
have
for
Breath
me
of
as
the
a
Wild.
kid to get into.
It's impossible.
It was
Even
so hard.
as an adult, I was like, I had to look stuff up. I'm like, how am I supposed to know where to go? You're supposed to know where to go.
Yeah, and like the last dungeon, it's hidden in a rock and somewhere.
Spectacle Rock. You got to bomb everything or try to burn every tree. But it's like
how am I supposed to figure this out as a kid?
That's what it is. You got to get your money's worth.
That's why there was the magazines and stuff. The
Oh,
Nintendo Power.
I'd eat those up. Anything that had Final Fantasy 3 in it. But yeah, like Legend of Zelda, like, it's just, and like, you need this shield to do that, and you got to use this thing for that. Like, but it's like, it's talking with each other on the playground and figuring it out.
Yep.
But it's very cryptic. Like, but some of these games today just hold your hand, which is too much.
Yeah.
And like, you get this AAA release of $80 you pay for it, and you finish it in a few hours, or you complete the story in a few hours. Like, and that's hogwash. But yeah, this Legend of Zelda, $35. Like, no, I got to sit there and figure it out and talk to people. Like.
Couldn't really get into 2.
No, it's a completely different style. It's
yeah.
good. I've seen a lot of gameplay and stuff on it now, and I think it's a really good game in its own right. They were trying something different. Oh, so back to Mario 2. So we rented Mario 2 for some reason. This is a story that I don't know why I'm telling. We're playing Mario 2. I vividly remember this one. My brother is like, there's something. We're just sitting there like 8 and 10 years old. I don't know how old we were. Sitting there playing Mario 2 down in the basement, eating cereal, playing Mario 2. My brother's like, there's something in my underwear. And he pulls out these 2 little things. And I was like, okay. And he's like, oh, they're raisins. And I pick one up and I'm about to eat it. I'm like, and he's like, it's raisins. And he's like, oh, no, wait, it's poop. And I was like, ah. And it's like, I look at that now. I'm like, why was I willing to eat a raisin out of his underwear? Like, thank God I didn't. That's the closest I ever came to eating shit, I guess, almost eating poop. Being like, why would I be about to eat a raisin in his underwear? I do love raisins, but like, my brother just,
kids.
He just blindly told me it's a raisin, and I was like, okay, I'll eat this raisin from your underwear.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
that is,
jeez.
Never had my brothers try to get me to eat their poop.
To his credit, he wasn't trying to get me to eat it. He was just like, oh, I think these are raisins. Here you go. One for him, one for me. And then he was like, took a closer look. He's like, oh, no, that's poop. I'm like, why would you have poop in your underwear? Like, why do you have little
Got excited.
I guess.
Just rabbit turd.
Well, or, I don't know, we were young. So he thought, oh, is my kid pooping in his underwear now? Just little, they were like little rabbit turds. I vividly remember that. And that's like inextricably tied with Mario 2. Whenever I play Mario 2, I think of that time I almost ate poop. And it's like a good memory. It's a good memory.
Well, here's the end of the comic drive.
Yeah. Anyway.
So,
subscribe, and check
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
In the comments,
yeah.
what
What
was
were
your
some of
favorite
those?
game
Yeah, what were your
back in the
favorite games? But like, what was some of those games you were just stuck with? You were stuck with as a kid. You had no option. You know, you get stuck with a bad game, and now to this day you love it because it was the only game you had, so you had to play it. Let us know.
Let us know.